Hello, good morning.
Oh, good morning, BBs. It's too early.
It sure is.
Welcome to the first, best, and only morning show in existence. I'm Anthony Carboni.
And I'm Saige Ryan.
And Saige, you know that I'm a simple man with simple needs.
Sure.
I'm not into material possessions. I don't believe in ownership, really.
Anthony, where did that case come from?
I just want simple. No, we're not. We'll get to that later. But I'll tell you what. I'm sort of the Henry David Thoreau of Twitch.
No, you're not.
Kind of.
Nope.
A bit, in that I want everybody to get rid of all their material and lead a simple life where you don't need many things.
No.
But I do want this $400 Japanese toaster.
Okay, well, sell me on it. Nice.
This is the Mitsubishi Electric Bread Oven TOST1. The world's most beautiful electric toaster. It makes one slice of toast at a time.
Wow, okay.
Perfectly.
How long does it take to make that one slice?
A few minutes.
Oh my god, that's too long.
It makes it with steam. It makes a perfectly toasted, perfectly moist slice of bread.
I'd argue it's a little light.
You can darken it if you want to.
That's just bread.
Look at how beautiful. Look at how beautiful. One at a time for $400. The best toast you'll ever eat, they say. Here's what's crazy, Saige.
What is it?
I don't even make toast. I don't even own a toaster. I was like, I should get a toaster because I want to be able to make toast at home without making it on the oven. But I eat toast so rarely.
Yeah, and a regular toaster is like $12.
Yeah, and I was like, what's the best toaster? And there it was.
And there it was.
And there it was. It's perfect. Saige, imagine one perfect slice of toast. The perfect texture. Not dried out. Just enough crunch in every bite, but not too much crunch. Perfectly evenly cooked, unlike most other toast, where you always have one piece where you're just like, oh, that wasn't cooked. Or you have one piece that's like, oh, that's overcooked.
Yeah. But, like, you know, we got to the point where we expanded toasters, right? So a lot of toasters make 4 pieces of bread at a time.
Yeah, 4 imperfect slices of toast. 4 trash slices of toast with what? Heat and electricity and just like a heating element? No. Nature's healing bath of steam.
I feel like we could have put 2 in there. I feel like we could have made that an inch wider and it would have fit 2. Because it's a little too big for 1, but it's not big enough for 2.
It's just a little too big for 1, but it is not anywhere near big enough for 2.
So that's what I'm saying.
Because it's meant to make 1.
Everybody is talking about your shirt, Anthony. Chat is going wild. I've seen like 3 or 4 comments about your shirt.
Oh, my very good friend got this for me for my birthday. My very good friend, Saige Ryan. She got this for me because of how much I love a Garfield. My birthday is not in March.
It's in September.
This is the best shirt. Look. Do I buy the toaster?
No, you don't buy the toaster. You don't eat toast.
Would I, though? If it was perfect?
No. As someone who knows you pretty well, Anthony, you wouldn't.
That's probably true.
You would for a week.
Yeah, and I'd be like...
For 1 week, you'd eat so much fucking toast, dude.
Oh, my God. And I'd be like, everybody look at this toast.
Yeah, you'd be sending pictures of your toast
This toast is amazing. Well, look, there's a value-priced option, Saige.
You mean 400 wasn't the value price?
No, shockingly, look. You want quality toast, you gotta pay for the quality toaster.
Yeah.
That's just the rules. But there is a value-priced option. Sorry, small earthquake. Nothing to worry about. They happen all the time in California. There is a value-priced toaster. Nailed it.
Everything's going very well. Good morning.
There is a value-priced toaster, and it is Balmuda's simply titled The Toaster.
Wow. Okay. That's a big swing to be the toaster.
It's the toaster, Saige. Look at it in all its beauty. Now, this one's only going to cost you $300. Only $300 for a toaster.
I'm not kidding. I think my toaster was less than $20.
Look at its little barista style steam.
You have to keep a little tiny little cup for pouring the water in.
Yes, you must have just enough steam for just the toast.
Just a little bit.
Just
it
a
doesn't come
teensy
with
bit.
the teeny cup. You have to buy it from a Barbie set.
You have to, yeah, you have to get it yourself. Look at that. Look at that avocado toast. Who needs a house? Am I right? I'll never have a home, but I could have a $300 toaster. Anyway, I'm not a materialistic person.
Anthony, what the fuck is on the desk?
Oh, the desk thing. Yeah, that's another one of my worldly possessions.
Yeah,
but I only own like 3 things. I have a single spoon.
That's not true.
I have a single spoon, a plate on which to eat my gruel.
Uh-huh.
I wash them both after every meal. And then my third worldly possession is my analog pocket.
Okay.
My fancy Game Boy. You might remember that last year I bought the fancy Game Boy.
Yeah. Have you played it a lot?
I've played it some. I haven't played it a lot. But this is the fancy Game Boy. It is too beautiful and bright for cameras. And basically it's got a cartridge slot in the back. It's made by Analog. You can play any original Game Boy cartridges, Game Boy Color cartridges, and GBA cartridges. It uses an FPGA, which means it's accurate, hardware accurate, instead of just software emulation. This is the best way for you to play original Game Boy games on portable hardware, according to Analog and the big nerds. But there was a problem with the Analog Pocket.
Yes, Anthony.
For a very long time. And the problem was these original cartridges. Because Analog, for each of their systems that they've released, has also released...
This is in focus. Pull it back.
Yes. Has also released a jailbreak.
Uh-huh.
And the jailbreak allows you to play games like ROMs, just loaded off of an SD card.
Right.
And people were waiting for this to happen for the Analog Pocket. They've been waiting for about a year.
Okay, yeah, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
Because it's an expensive piece.
It is. This was $249. This was very expensive. Too expensive. But it finally happened, Saige. The jailbreak came out yesterday, which means this now plays ROMs off of this SD card slot on the side.
I'm very happy to hear that. Because up to this point, I do not think that the Analog Pocket has been worth it.
No, I would agree. This is definitely a real collector's piece. I honestly was just like, I thought about returning this or selling it on eBay like 100 times, because you remember there were times where you could flip this on eBay for, I think probably still you can flip this on eBay for way more than it cost. And people were doing that. And I don't want to be one of those people who buys things to flip them.
Yeah.
But there are way better options out there. I would say if you wanted to play not just Game Boy games, but like any games with you, you should get the Retroid Pocket like we have.
That's the thing. Tetsuan said people wait years for emulators to work, so a year isn't much actually. No, it is for $400.
People did wait years for emulators to work, but now most emulators just work. So so you're not really waiting anymore.
Yeah, and again, we have Retroid Pockets, which play emulators out the gate and cost $90.
Yeah, for $90, you can play everything up through N64 and some GameCube.
Yeah, which is a much more vast library than this had access to, and much less expensive. So
they really marketed this as like, this is if you have a lot of old Game Boy cartridges. Yeah. Because Game Boy hardware is failing.
Yeah.
You know, Game Boy hardware is falling apart. You can make your own Game Boy or mod your Game Boy, but a lot of people don't want it. They just want one nice thing that works. So this was sort of aimed towards those people, but like with a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink, there's a jailbreak coming. And people waited and waited and waited and waited, and it never came. But now you can do it. So this plays Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy Color off of SD cards. It also, just this morning, somebody released a Neo Geo Core in alpha. I have a feeling that by the end of the week or end of the month, we're going to have like NES, Genesis, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Which is great if you own one of these, but don't own one of these, is what I'm saying.
It's not worth it.
I genuinely go for $90 and get yourself the Retroid Pocket. But what's interesting about this, I think, is not the story that the jailbreak is out, but the story that how they have to release this jailbreak.
Yeah.
Because for Analog to sell this and not get sued to oblivion by Nintendo, they have to say, this only plays original cartridges. This will never play anything else. We will never release any software to allow it to play ROMs. We don't condone that.
Yeah.
We're opening it up to developers. They do what they do.
Right.
But the author of the jailbreak for Analog products is always a mysterious benefactor. And the mysterious benefactor always seems to release these jailbreaks and these ROM cores the day the hardware is able to load them. And 45 minutes later, to an hour later usually, Analog's main contracted engineer, Kevtris,
yes,
will pop up on a Discord or on Reddit and be like, oh, I see new cores have dropped. Please enjoy them, everybody.
Very cool. Have fun.
Very cool. Have
could
fun.
Be anyone.
Anybody could have released these cores.
And we will not say anything else because we're not narcs.
Yeah. So I think that's very interesting is like they can't, we all know what this hardware is for, but they can't say anything about it, which is interesting because they are an American company. They are making a lot of their hardware and doing their marketing here. Whereas like a company like a Retroid or something like that, our Retroid came from a company that's based in China.
Yeah.
China does whatever the fuck they want. So China says, play your emulators. Hell, we'll put emulators on there for you. Do you want to be able to launch your emulators right from go? Here, we'll even throw some ROMs on there for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I don't think Retroid does anymore. But they used to, Retroid would just throw every ROM on there for you.
Yeah.
Which is like, come get us. We're in China, cowards.
Right. So the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, which is the one with the touch screen, is $99.
And it's great.
It fucking owns.
It's really wonderful. I mean,
I love it. It's all I'm taking when I travel.
Yeah. It's small. It's about, is yours out here or is it not out here?
I think it's in my suitcase.
But it's like Game Boy Advance size.
It's Game Boy Advance size, yeah.
And it's wonderful. It's full-on Android, so it plays Android games too, which is lovely. You can install things like Stardew Valley and stuff like that if you want to. You can do Xbox game streaming on it. You can do PlayStation game streaming on it. Steam. You can do all that stuff.
I just play all my GameCube games.
Yeah.
That's it. I play a little bit of DS. I play a little bit of GameCube.
When we first got it, we did a lot of like tinkering.
Yeah. To
get all the stuff working. It's much easier to do now, but the moment like basically Saige was just like, if Animal Crossing works on this thing, that's all. That's all. And Animal Crossing works on it. It's very good. How's the screen? Screen's great. Super bright.
Yeah.
Great resolution. It's like 640, 480, which is like all you need.
Yeah.
On a screen that size, and it's double most of your classic consoles resolution.
Right.
I think it's really wonderful, and you can install different front ends on it to run all your different emulators. I honestly think if you're somebody who's been lusting after one of these analog products, and I know there are a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
I honestly think one of the best things you can get would either be a Retroid Pocket, or if you want to get something with a little more power and a little more oomph to it, the Ein Odin, the AYN Odin, which will play everything up to up through PS2 games.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. That's about the size of a Switch Lite. Costs $200. And it's, I mean, that's $40 less than the Analog Pocket will cost you. And you'll get it in like a month, whereas with the Analog Pocket, you're going to get it in a year. It's going to take a year for you to get it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because Damien ordered one and he got his, it took like 6 months.
But that was back.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Retroid, actually.
Yeah,
the Retroid was back ordered at the time.
Yeah, that was the Retroid, which at the time had a really long wait list. It doesn't anymore.
Yeah.
I think now you're getting...
It fluctuates.
Yeah. I mean, because it's still like, it's supply chains, you're ordering from China, it's international shipping right now.
Right.
So, you know, you're waiting. You can buy them sometimes you can find them on Amazon for like $150 if you want them like today.
Right.
But I say like, wait.
Yeah.
They're great. I love mine.
I love mine too.
I have way too many handhelds.
You would think we are paid by Retroid. We're not, but we would love to be.
We'd love to be paid by anybody. Not anybody, but most people.
But like by most people.
By most people.
let's get into a little bit of gaming
Speaking of which,
news.
is this up? There we go.
No, we got to restart it.
We got
It's a new month.
It's a new month, BBs. It's a new month.
New month just dropped.
A new month just dropped. Don't worry. I'll cover for you while you do this, and no one will notice.
You're doing excellent.
Thank you. You like a Pokemon cards?
Love Pokemon cards.
A lot of people have been loving these Pokemon cards. I think they're going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, during the pandemic, when we all reverted to our child forms, Pokemon cards became a big deal. Pokemon cards are now going for millions of dollars. They all go to Jake Paul. Or Logan Paul, whichever one. I don't know. But they've become a huge deal. People are fighting in Walmarts for them.
Yeah.
Their adults are tearing each other apart for Pokemon cards. Roll that intro. And now, for the first time in years, Pokemon cards are coming back to McDonald's. Do you remember McDonald's used to do, like, Pokemon cards?
I used to have them all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah, you used to be able to get, like, booster packs and stuff like that.
I remember mostly it being, like, a single card.
Yeah. Yes. You could do that. They had that as well.
You get, like, a single, like, little holographic card or something.
Pokemon cards are now back. So basically, the packs are going to include, the McDonald's packs are going to include 4 cards, and the overall set will be made up of 15 reprinted cards that have a new set symbol and numbering exclusive to McDonald's. They're going to have that McDonald's sparkly hollow pattern, and it's a McDonald's exclusive sparkly hollow pattern. The set's going to have Ladybug, Rowlet, Gossifleur, Growlithe, Victini, Lapras, Pikachu, Chinchou, Flaffy, Tynamo, Cutiefly, Beware, Pangoro, Drampa, and Smeargle. Adults are going to buy these out.
100%.
These are not going to wind up in the hands of children.
Yeah, a Kotarakun live studio audience said, so now adults will be fighting each other in McDonald's more than usual.
People are going to go to McDonald's on day one of these cards being released and buy 30 to 70 Happy Meals. They're going to have to put limits on it.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they're coming out with limits on them. Because as is, like, this is still a thing, which, like, has never been a thing for me. But I remember, like, my mother wanting to collect certain, like, McDonald's toys when I was a kid. It was a very, like, late 90s thing.
Yes.
To collect McDonald's toys.
There was a boom for a little while, and now
they thought it was going to be valuable. It was the Beanie Baby mentality.
Exactly. And my buddy Scott collects a lot of that stuff, and it's not really worth anything anymore. He just likes collecting it. But yeah, there was a speculator's market for a little while for McDonald's toys, which is wild because they've always been like the crummiest bits of plastic when I think back on them that I've like ever owned in my life.
Yeah.
You would get so excited for the Happy Meal toy, and then you would get it, and I remember like just the reality of the Happy Meal toy was always slightly disappointing to me.
Absolutely. And look, when you're a kid, surprise toy?
Surprise toy?
When your options were dinner with no toy or dinner with toy?
I mean, what are you going to do?
Dinner with toy fucking owns.
Dinner with toy is the only way to eat dinner.
But, like, as an adult, it just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for me.
But this is going to be...
Where would I put McDonald's toys?
This is going to be a big deal, and I hope that McDonald's... I mean, I guess it comes down... I mean, I hope they have policies in place, but it might come down to, like, individual managers or whatever. But please,
think of the children.
Think of the children. These cards are not... Listen, the bottom is falling out of all of these speculator markets that blew up during the pandemic. Don't keep taking from children.
Yeah, I guess the real lesson here is don't take toys from children. That's it.
You little monsters.
You can maybe have one Happy Meal as a treat.
You can have a listen, if you're the sort of adult that wants to go through a drive-thru every once in a while and have a Happy Meal, baby, do it. Absolutely do it.
Honestly, the main reason I don't is because I don't want a toy.
Yeah, it comes with
where
too much
would
stuff.
I put it? And I don't want to throw it away.
No, a Happy Meal is the perfect amount of Saige food, in all honesty.
Yeah.
The little 4-piece McNugget and the tiny
Perfect.
fries. That's a Saige amount of food. She
Maybe
eats
some apple slices?
You can get some apple slices if you want. Tiny Dr. Pepper for you.
Ugh, great.
She eats like a tiny squirrel. Anyway, don't steal from children.
That is not all of the Pokemon news, though.
Say what?
Can you believe it? This morning, the Pokemon Twitter account announced that there would be a Pokemon Presents, which is the like Nintendo Direct equivalent for Pokemon, on Wednesday. This will be August 3rd at 6 a.m. PT, so it'll be right before our show on Wednesday. I do feel like it was a little bit inconsiderate of them to schedule it on our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah.
The It's Too Early 2-year anniversary.
It's
I just feel
very
like
rude.
maybe that should actually be a day just about us and
That's a
not
day
about
of-
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
That's a day of rest and reflection upon our show and all of the things we've given to the world.
But I guess we'll cover it on Wednesday, probably, because I guess we're a news show and we still need news to talk about.
Here's what I think about that.
Exactly. So they said a video presentation with updates on Pokemon apps and video games, including Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Hey, the kids are really looking for that Scarlet and Violet update.
It's me, I'm the kids.
It's, we're all looking forward to it.
I'm very excited. That's a good question. Do you think that they will mention our anniversary in the Pokemon Presents?
I think so. I think they'll be like, and thank you so much for ceding a little bit of time and attention today to us, the Pokemon Company.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Pixel Circus.
On this, the day of news.
On this, the day of our news' birth.
Yeah, I guess, what do we call our anniversary?
Anniversary.
Okay, well, there's this one. There's It's Too Early.
Oh, that's fun.
Because it's our 2-year anniversary.
That's fun.
Christian Boy said boyfriend and girlfriend. That's not a great name for our news show anniversary.
The two people on screen are my action figures. Make them kiss.
Hey.
They're my dolls. Make them kiss.
How come no one ever shows up and says it at Damsels, huh? How come no one asks if we're all girlfriends? That's what I'm wondering.
It's Too Early is good.
Yeah, it's too early.
Christian Boy was worried that maybe his point didn't get across.
No.
Worried he was too subtle that first time.
Your name was already Christian Boy. We understand your enforced heteronormativity. Please, keep it to yourself. I want 2 boyfriends,
and I want the boyfriends to have boyfriends. And I want to be their girlfriend, and I want them to take me out on little boyfriend dates. Listen. It's our anniversary on Wednesday. And we have such big plans.
We do
have such big plans. If you listen to the 700th episode of We Have Concerns, also another big anniversary I was recently part of, we might have just as much planned, if not more, than we did for that anniversary.
Here's the kind of
if
unhinged
you can believe it
person that I am. I am the kind of person that will have no plan, and then the night before I'll stay up all night making the plan.
Mm-hmm.
My computer keeps coming.
I know, and here's the thing about that is she will involve me in the plans, and so if we don't have plans, I too will have to be up all night the night before making these plans. So we've got so many plans. You're doing.
My computer came unplugged. It was necessary.
There's a lot going on.
I know, but I have to charge my laptop, Anthony.
There's a lot going on.
What would you have me do?
Climb
under the desk real quick.
So yes, it's gonna be a star-studded event. So many things planned. Because we're not going to wait until the last minute, because that's unhealthy, especially the week that you have to go to a big con.
What, you mean just because I leave immediately after our show on Wednesday to fly to Gen Con, where I have 18,000 obligations for work?
Yeah, so we're definitely not. That's why we planned it so far in advance, and we have so many plans. So join us on Wednesday for the big anniversary event. Hey.
Mm-hmm.
You know that CD Projekt Red?
I've heard of it.
You know the ones that literally pay their employees bonuses and tokens.
Little tokens.
Yeah, they give them little bonus tokens. You know, it might surprise you to know that some people have left CD Projekt Red over the last few years. Yeah,
They're
big
not
deal.
Get to cash in their bonus tokens, Anthony.
Our volume is so low.
Is it?
Yeah.
See, sometimes things need to happen. Okay, that's much better. Leave it there.
Okay.
Did you bring yours a little lower?
Yeah.
You're much louder than me.
I'm so loud. So, CD Projekt Red, some people have left them. It's shocking.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. And some of those people have left to form their own studio.
Mm-hmm.
This is Dark Passenger is the name of the studio. And it's two of the kind of one of the bigger developers. They were part of the art team on Witcher 3, and they did some contract work on Cyberpunk, but they had kind of left before that because they saw which way the wind was blowing over at CD Projekt Red.
Okay.
And they've announced their first game, Saige.
Ooh.
It's very exciting.
Anthony.
That's...
Press the button.
There we go. So, they've announced their first game. It's an online multiplayer action game set in feudal Japan.
Yeah.
There's no title yet.
Okay.
There's no nothing yet. Just some art. They say they want to create an online multiplayer game with support for both competitive and cooperative play. It sounds like it's going to borrow elements from games like Titanfall and Absolver. It's interesting when people say that something is going to borrow from Absolver, which just borrowed exceedingly heavily from the Dark Souls games.
Right. Very
So it's like,
interesting.
it sounds a lot like Absolver. So you mean like Dark Souls? Like we don't need to connect dots to make it sound like people aren't taking things from Dark Souls whole cloth.
Right.
We know that people are taking things from Dark Souls whole cloth. They're saying our locomotion system will allow players to perform incredible feats such as running on arrows fired by other players.
That sounds very cool.
That sounds pretty dope. I like that. Fast climbing on vertical surfaces or using a Yari spear like a pole to jump over obstacles. Engaging in close-range combat will demand as much dexterity as tactics and close cooperation with teammates.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Blade of Creation said, multiplayer is not what I want from a Witcher-like. Now, these are people that worked on The Witcher. This is not a Witcher-like.
No, they haven't said anything about it being anything like The Witcher. They simply were Witcher developers.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, you know, like we're saying, it sounds like a mix of Titanfall and Dark Souls.
Which online multiplayer makes perfect sense for.
Yeah. Now, I love the idea of pole vaulting with spears. I love the wall running mechanics and stuff. I love the traversal of a respawn game, you know, particularly Titanfall. Or something like an Apex. Now, the running on arrows or jumping off of arrows is pretty freaking dope, and I'm wondering how that's going to play out. Is it like a timed button taps thing?
Yeah.
I mean, it must be.
It must. My guess is it's a timed button taps. It just goes to like a little, essentially, cutscene.
Yeah, but it's fascinating, though, because in online, you have to be, like, very careful about speeding up or slowing down gameplay because it has to do it for everybody. So I'm just like, I'm wondering how that's going to look and how precise your time. That's the thing that I want to know. How precise is this game?
I'm curious if they can honestly pull that off.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot.
But it sounds very cool if they can.
Yeah, Self-Aware Can Opener in the live studio audience is saying, very curious to see a tech demo. I am as well.
Would love that.
So Dark Passenger's careers page, and this is kind of funny, kind of alludes to the criticisms of CD Projekt Red.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what Dark Passenger says on their now hiring page. We create a prejudice-free environment based on tolerance, support, and understanding. We treat individuals as seriously as the group's expectations. We provide all amenities, private medical care, and paid overtime. With an emphasis on work-life balance, we offer flexible working hours and holidays. We will not pay you in tokens. We will treat you like a person. Eat shit and die, CD Projekt Red. Now, some of that I added, but you'll have to guess which bits.
Yeah, you were filling in the subtext. I will agree with that. I definitely think that it's like, we do paid overtime. It's also very funny to me, and it's like, you know, obviously deeply dystopian that we live in a time where we have to say if you work overtime, you get paid overtime.
Yeah.
And I know that that's also an industry by industry basis, and like there's a lot of people working in games that do not get paid overtime, but like we give you holidays off.
I mean,
as like a benefits, as like a ooh.
And I mean, that's the problem, is that there are a lot of people in games that don't get paid overtime. The problem is that this is the working standard in the industry right now. It's real fucked up. It's real fucked up.
I guess where I'm at is just like, I'm not impressed by that. I understand that the bar is low, but like, let's raise the bar a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
you're coming from CDPR where like you were upset with the conditions, and you were like, let's do base level decent conditions.
And the fact that, yeah, and you're right, the fact that base level conditions is a selling point for a company is ridiculous.
Like, hit me with that 4-day work week.
And that's why it's so important that the unions that are starting to pop up continue to pop up. And the video game industry has needed strong unions for years and years and years and years.
And there's a lot of things that a new development company and like a startup is not necessarily going to be able to offer. That like larger companies can afford to offer, and most of the time don't anyways.
Right.
But things like, and I'm going to continue to advocate for this, a 4-day work week, everyone can afford.
Well, but the weird thing is, like, conversely, it's these smaller studios and startups that are the only ones in the games industry that offer this stuff to start with. And that's what's wild, is because these larger companies can afford it but don't do it. These smaller companies can't really afford it but do, because they believe, hey, if you can't afford it, then you don't start a company.
Right.
Things like your Young Horses, your Fingies, like
everyone
places
can afford
like
a 4-day
that.
work week. A 4-day work week doesn't cost you money.
Yeah.
A 4-day work week does not cost you money, and it does not cost you productivity. There is every amount of actual studies to prove to you that people are not productive 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Sure.
Much less, working that overtime. So, like, I'm just saying, hey, take what you felt from how CDPR treated you. I'm going to push you one step better.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about some real scammy video games, though. Let's talk about some video game industry stuff that is gross. And this is not your standard video game industry story. This is where video games intersect with NFTs and crypto. We've talked before about Axi Infinity. Axi Infinity is a game that's basically a Pokemon-style battle game, but each Pokemon is an NFT. The two little Pokemons can breed, make new NFTs that are then able to be sold on the blockchain. It's a big scam. Basically what happened is each one of these like little Axis costs about $600. So just to play this game, you've got to jump in with an $1,800 investment, so you have a team of Pokemon basically to fight with, which means not everybody can afford to play this game. And so, of course, capitalism says, I can do something about this, and that something is make myself way more money. So you might remember that we reported on, basically, this was particularly huge in the Philippines. People were taking basically jobs playing somebody else's Axi Infinity account all day.
Farming.
Just basically gold farming, but Axi farming, and they would get a percentage of the profits. And the Axi Infinity community called these things scholarships. Of course, the market fell out of Axi Infinity, just as the market fell out of all crypto recently. It's a bad place. It's a horrible thing. Now, something doubly horrible happened, unfortunately, to the Axi Infinity community, and that is that the company's sidechain network, Ronin. Ronin is their network that runs on the blockchain, but it's their own private chain. It was hacked, and the perpetrators stole about $600 million worth of Ethereum and USDC stablecoins.
$600 million worth. Now, I will acknowledge that it was $600 million worth of nothing. So they didn't steal $600 million. They stole something that they promise you is worth $600 million in our minds.
So this happened in March. Somebody walked off with $600 million of these assets, probably flipped them. But here's something that's really, really interesting.
And unsurprising.
Trung Nguyen, who is the CEO and co-founder of Axi Infinity, super weird, super crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, right before the hack, transferred $3 million worth of AXS, which is basically Axi's own currency. Just mysteriously, right before the hack, took $3 million and threw it into an off-site account.
How interesting that is.
How strange. How weird. How odd. As Asobs, who is a YouTuber who analyzes the crypto scene, found out they were tipped off about a wallet that had moved this $3 million to Binance, dug through the wallet's transactions, and did see that it belonged to the CEO. Now, as Azob started tracking further wallets, they found out that Sky Mavis, who is the main developer, the lead developer of Axi Infinity, and somebody who didn't want to acknowledge the hack and wound up acknowledging it and offering sort of a non-apology, turned out that Sky Mavis also made super large transactions right before the hack.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Very odd. So strange that all of the main developer and CEO transferred tons and tons of funds out right before this hack. Now look, who could know? Who could know what really happened? Surely nobody can tell.
The CEO did try and explain it away
Mm-hmm.
by saying, I personally transferred almost $3 million to Binance prior to the Ronin bridge shutting down. That was part of the plan to be able to provide liquidity so that Ronin users would be able to withdraw at whatever.
Basically what Trung, the CEO, was saying is, I took some of my Axi Infinity money and I put it in a real place to turn it into real money, so Axi would have enough liquid assets for people for people playing Axi to be able to buy and sell their Axis without any delay.
It was a community service.
It was a community service, really.
It was a mercy killing.
Now, one thing that we do know is that the U.S. Treasury Department did find out that the hack is real, and they have pinned the heist on a North Korea-based hacker collective that calls itself Lazarus Group. And this is due to the FBI identifying a digital wallet associated with the heist. Now, Lazarus Group has stolen hundreds of millions of dollars worth of crypto over recent years. They are one of the biggest thieves of crypto, and, you know...
imagine your life being stealing made-up things. I show up to people's houses, and I take their dreams.
The dreams were real to me.
It was real to me.
So basically, I mean, look, the crypto is a huge scam all the way down.
And maybe it's okay when scammers get scammed. I don't know.
Now, there are people, just as with every scam, there are people on the bottom of this thing that are real people putting real money into this or real time into this, and that is a bummer. But we're just going to say this again. Don't put any of your time or money into crypto shit.
Don't do it.
Just don't do that. Just don't do it. It's really wild. I mean, the U.S. is starting to crack down on this stuff, which is good. They jailed a former employee of Ethereum for more than 5 years for giving a presentation in North Korea on using cryptocurrency technologies to evade sanctions and launder money.
Mm-hmm.
Dude basically went to North Korea and was like, here's how you steal from us.
Yeah.
And the U.S. government was like, hey, man, that's actually, you can't. That's, you super can't do that. But also, hey, if the government really wanted to do something about this, they would either crack down on the crypto market or make crypto a legal security that required the same insurance and backing of any other traded security. But they don't want to do that. They want to keep it. They want to keep it all fakey and weird and terrible. Because if you think that members of the U.S. government don't have some of their money in crypto and they aren't doing some shady shit with it, you're wrong. You're 100% wrong. All of these people who are super wealthy are the ones that are making money on everything, including crypto.
You know what? While we're talking about giant financial scams,
Yeah.
let's talk about the United States lottery.
Did you play the Mega Millions at all?
Of course not. Did you?
When it gets up that high, I think about like, I'll put $10 in just for the thrill. Why not? I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I never get around to it. And also, it's like, you ain't going to win the lottery. Except that somebody did win the lottery.
Someone always wins the lottery, and that was my mother's justification growing up. My mother would go and she would get lottery tickets, and she wasn't it wasn't an addiction.
Yeah.
My grandparents were lottery people.
Oh, yeah.
Every week you get your paycheck, you go get your lottery tickets. My mother would play when it got high because she would be like, well, someone has to win.
Somebody has to win.
Somebody
My
has
mom
to
would
win.
be the same way.
It could be me, which is like a reasonable amount.
If the Mega Millions got high, and especially like as high as it got for as long as it got this year. So if you didn't know, the Mega Millions got up to about $1.2 billion before it was won yesterday. But when it would get high like that and everybody was talking about it, I feel like for my mom, it was just as much a social thing as it was a we might win the lottery thing. It's like everybody at work is talking about it all the time. It's like small talk. There are offices where people have lotto pools where everybody puts in money and they buy like a huge amount of tickets. This is dystopian and horrible, but I think for my mom, it was like just as much a social thing. She wants to talk to people about how they played the lottery.
Sure. I will acknowledge that the lottery is a gambling scam. The lottery is a gambling scam. It's all of us without any money pooling together our no money, and then one person by chance gets all money.
Yeah, and the other thing is not all money, right? Like, you think that the number of tickets that we put into the lottery, the number of dollars that we put in becomes the jackpot, but that's not how the lottery works, because to make the lottery program legal and attractive in most states, lottery money is supposed to go towards public stuff. It's supposed to go back into your community. One of the big lies that we were told in Florida when I was growing up is that the Florida lottery gives money to schools. Florida having the third worst school system in the United States. I think now second. Go Florida. And what most states will do is use this justification. Oh, there's money coming in from the lottery to education. That's supposed to be money that goes into it in addition to the state budget. But what states will normally do is, now we can cut the budget.
Correct.
Because the lottery is supposed to be paying into this. And what happens is you wind up with poorer people with fewer social services who spend more money on lottery tickets.
Correct. It's a massive scam. It is a massive lie sold to the poor, because we do, in fact, live in a dystopia that people really will spend the, last $10 of their paycheck in hopes to escape poverty.
Now, we're not saying if you got an extra buck and you want to play the lottery, don't play the lottery. If you have fun doing it, do it.
No, my criticism is entirely for the government and not for the people doing it. Whenever I criticize the impacts of the poor, I'm not criticizing the poor.
No, we never are.
Especially as someone who grew up on food stamps.
But we don't want to make, what we're saying is we don't want to make you feel bad if you play the lottery. Like I said, I thought about it. I was like, this morning I was like, oh, did somebody win that? If not, I'll buy a ticket today. That'll be fun.
See, and I'm pretty avidly anti-lottery. I will not play it on principle.
That's fair.
And again, no judgment for people playing the lottery, but I just, it upsets me too much to have fun participating.
I feel that. Well, somebody had fun participating because somebody in Illinois won the $1.2 billion. We've just made another evil billionaire. We came together and we are the origin story for whoever this person is. Now, we'll probably never know who this person is. Because if you're smart and you win the lottery, you immediately begin saying no to everything they ask you to do.
So that's the thing. Pardon me. There's been a lot of conversation about this, is what are you supposed to do if you win the lottery? And it's very funny how massive this has been on TikTok. Obviously, TikTok is entirely trend-based. So when one thing pops off, everybody makes a video about it. You start seeing hundreds of them.
I love everybody in the live studio audience going, well, actually, if you take the lump sum, it's only $700 million. It doesn't matter.
That is true. After taxes, you're going to lose a lot.
Let me tell you something. If you fall asleep with $700 million, even in a bank, it's only a few days before you wake up with $1 billion.
Yeah, you could just get one of those nice interest accounts.
Yeah, and that's the baseline worst thing you can do with your money.
Yeah.
You just that's the amount of money. We're talking about institutional wealth. We're talking about the kind of money where you can keep spending and spending and spending.
And you will never run out without checking your account.
There's no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Some people, we hear a lot about people who win the lottery and they win like 50 million, 100 million. And it's like, my money's gone. I don't know where my money went. And it's like, well, you bought a $10 million house cash. You bought like 10 cars. We can show you where your money went. $700 million is fucking hard to spend.
Yeah. So with this, a lot of people have been like, well, what do you do if you win the lottery? Which, again, is one of those very funny things of people all being like, well, it could be me.
Yeah, and the answer for most people is ruin your life. Most people win the lottery and just ruin their lives.
There was also a bunch of information about how many people that have won the lottery have been murdered.
Yep.
There are like countless stories of this. Dozens of people who have won jackpots have been murdered by usually like someone that they knew, a family member, a friend, something of that capacity, because of simply the like desperation around that amount of money. So one of them was the question of, are you supposed to sign your lottery ticket? Because of the fear of losing your ticket once you win, right?
I mean,
the answer was no.
No, I mean, that's
not.
That's not really going to do anything for you.
Right.
Legally.
So the answer that came with that, should you win the lottery, BBs, was just to take a bunch of digital proof of it, take your photos of it, take your photos with it, and keep those in a like locked, secure place that is just for you. And the other thing was, don't fucking tell anybody you won the lottery.
You should not tell anyone.
They will ask you immediately if they can make it public. The place that you bought the ticket from will ask if they can make a thing of it.
They'll try to take pictures of you. They'll try to put you on billboards. This was like a huge thing, and they're actually, I think up until recently, they were just allowed to, and I think it was something like 10 years ago, something like that, where they finally made it where you can refuse all of that.
Yeah.
It used to be like,
state.
Yeah, it used to be like, if you win, you have to agree to have your picture taken to be public. Now
it feels very Hunger Games, right? It feels like the champion of the Hunger Games. Like, congratulations, you killed a bunch of other teens.
If you can track me down,
we're gonna make you famous now.
Yeah, you put your face on a billboard. It's like, if you can find me, you might have $100 million. Come get it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But the other thing is like, immediately find a financial advisor. Immediately find a lawyer. And it has to be somebody that like a lawyer and a financial advisor that you can trust. Which is tough for a lot of people because a lot of us in the U.S., a lot of us around the world don't have a lot of wealth and don't have financial advisors or lawyers. People just don't have them. And so immediately, like, you're sitting on this lottery ticket with like $1 billion. And it's like, well, I need to find somebody who understands all of this legal stuff that I can trust to sign it all the right way and do all the right things with it.
And not kill me.
And not take all my money somehow. It's actually, it feels like at least the first month of winning the lottery would be terrifying.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I might deal with it to be a billionaire, though.
Sure. I would acknowledge that I would be a very temporary billionaire.
Same.
Chafrikas, I just thought it was a really funny answer. Said I'd buy my mom and my grandmother whatever they wanted, and then I would buy a house and sit still for all eternity.
Sit still. Just sit still. I wouldn't have to do anything.
It's very funny to me.
I just sit still and quiet, and nobody come to me, and I'm not going to anybody.
I also will acknowledge Dova Chrono said, I won the lottery when I found Pixel Circus and these lovely humans on the internet.
Hey!
So thank you for making me rich with joy.
2-year anniversary coming up. I think, honestly sounds like a great movie or short. Now, there are a couple movies that were made about, like, somebody wins a lottery ticket and, like, other people. There was something where, like, a bunch of people are on vacation at a cabin. One of them finds out they have a lottery ticket that's a winner, and they all start killing each other at the cabin.
Oh, my God.
It's very good. At least I remember it being, like, a very good idea for a movie. I don't remember if it was a great movie in and of itself, but I remember going, man, that's clever. But, I mean, like, this is the thing. Capitalism and the current state of the economy puts us in a very strange place. I remember as young as 9 or 10 having fantasies of just finding a shoebox full of money. I used to think, like, maybe one day I'll find a shoebox full of money.
Fascinating.
And it'll be like, it doesn't have to be a lot. I could find a shoebox full of like 20s or 50s and like we would be okay. And it was only when I got older that I realized.
That's because we're Jews and we hide money?
Yeah, there's that. But also it was only when I got older that I realized that, like, oh, this is me as a kid not understanding what the economy is doing and using, like, a child's magical thinking.
Yes.
To, like, get out of this horrible, we were all like, stability. I knew there wasn't stability, even though I didn't have words for it. And so in my mind, it was like, one day maybe I'll find this shoebox full of money.
Yeah.
And I don't need to tell anybody that I found a shoebox full of money.
Right.
Because I was also terrified about what would happen there.
Yeah.
But, like, I'll find a shoebox full of money and we'll just be able to pay the bills and stop the phone calls from coming.
I fully understand that. I know if someone comes to the door, you don't answer, you turn off the lights, and you make sure the dog doesn't bark. You don't answer the phone. You let it go to the answering machine,
so,
and
like,
we don't put our names on the answering machine.
So, like, it's very weird that even from a young age, this sort of, like, something will help me escape is in us, even if we don't know what it is. And it's weird that people can get all the way to adulthood and still not realize the magical thinking of it, like you're saying, and
the lottery is magical thinking.
Put $20 to $50 into the lottery, because putting $20 or $50 into a savings account isn't going to do much for you.
Right. It is the hopelessness of it that allows us to be like, well,
it's the avocado toast argument. It's like, stop. It's like, no, I'm not going to stop having my fancy coffee every day. The money from my fancy coffee isn't going to do much for me.
Right.
But I like having my fancy coffee. Let me have one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the argument, because people will say that, where it's like, oh, if you're broke, why do you have a Disneyland pass? Or, why do you go to Starbucks or have avocado toast or whatever? It's like, hey, guys, poor people should still be allowed to enjoy things. And we can't manage their money for them. It's a system that oppressed them, not them individually.
Yeah, it's like, what if you stopped? Why aren't you stripping all enjoyment or positive events or memories from your life in order to get out of this debtor's prison we put you in? It's like, because fuck you, I'm going to have a nice sandwich today.
Right. What? Oh, what? You want basic human rights like housing and access to utilities, but also want to have fun this week? That sounds like poor money management.
Speaking of poor money management, do you remember when Google started Stadia?
I remember when you were the only person to own Stadias in the world.
So many Stadias. Listen. Finally, there was a rumor earlier this week that said Google's going to shut down Stadia by the end of summer. Google's put so much money and time into Stadia, but not as much as they needed to.
Simultaneously, too much and not enough.
Yeah, so Google jumped into Stadia, and we've talked about this before, but Google jumped into Stadia with all the hubris of Google.
Do you think maybe the Stadia is their avocado toast?
Yeah, they can have a little games industry as a treat.
Like, they spent too much for what it is.
Google's got enough avocado toast. They popped out with all of the hubris of Google. They said, we're here and we're games now, but they didn't really think about it. They really expected, in case you don't know too much about Stadia, they really wanted people to pay $10 a month for Stadia, and that didn't come with any games.
Correct.
This was literally months before Xbox was like, hey, we've got this thing. It's called Game Pass. Google really wanted you to pay full retail price for games that you could only play in the cloud.
Yeah.
For games that you'll never be able to play anywhere but off of Google's servers.
Correct.
And they were like, now, $10 a month to play them good, on top of what you're paying for these games.
Yes.
It was only recently that they started giving away free games.
Right.
They really thought, just like they always do, we are everywhere, and we're connected to everything, and there's no way we can lose. Do you remember their initial demo where it was like, if I'm watching a video based on Assassin's Creed, I can click on play on Stadia, and it will immediately open Assassin's Creed, and all of a sudden I'm playing it. That shit never happened.
No!
That shit never happened.
Because no one bought the device.
But no one bought the device because they didn't do the things, because they didn't sell devices. But listen, I don't know. It's been a while since Google. It's been a while since Google has had to start from scratch. So maybe you don't understand. You got to give the people the thing when they pay for it.
For the thing.
Yeah, if they pay for the thing, it has to be the thing.
Right.
And they forgot that. They forgot that if they didn't do all of those things, nobody was going to buy it.
Right.
And nobody did. And so there was a rumor posted yesterday on the Killed by Google Twitter feed. Killed by Google is a list of all the things that Google has just fucking shut down. Listen, and Killed by Google said that basically this stuff is shutting down.
And then my favorite Twitter interaction I've read this week happened. Bluefire Demon said, "Hi, at Google Stadia, can I ask a question?"
Sure thing. How can we help?
Sigh. Incredible that I really have to ask this. Are you closing down soon?
Are you Clausen down?
Are you Clausen down
Are you
soon?
Carly Clausen soon? Stadia's not shutting down. Rest assured, we're always working on bringing more great games to the platform and Stadia Pro. Let us know if you have any other questions.
The fact that this person successfully baited the Stadia account into this interaction is perfection.
The fact that they're answering this question.
The fact that they just said, "Hey, at Google Stadia, can I ask a question?"
Hey, Google, are you there? And Google Stadia is so unloved. Google Stadia is so unspoken to that the Google Stadia social person is sitting in a room like this.
Mm-hmm.
I swear there's got to be like an alarm and a siren that goes off every time somebody tweets
Even
at them.
just a little ding.
Just like, oh shit, the internet. Oh my God, people are talking to us.
Someone wants to ask us a question.
Oh my God. Yes, of course we're here. We've been here. We've been sitting here for 2 years. Please.
We're ready. What is it? What do you need?
Hey, you guys suck. Are you going to suck forever or are you going to stop sucking because you're closing?
I feel like Bluefire Demon was like, "Google Stadia, can I sign your yearbook?" And they were like, yeah,
of course.
Can sign
and you hand it to
yearbook.
it, it's like,
fucking nerd.
And it's like, you're a fucking nerd. Ha ha ha. JK, but not. Twitter. And Google Stadia looks at it and they're like, that's in my yearbook forever. And even if I cross it out, I'll remember what it said. I'm not saying that because I know anything about this.
Now I'm really sad about it. That's actually a huge bummer. If there's a fictional kid now.
Yeah,
really
I'm sorry, did I add a single detail that made it too real?
Yeah.
It's not that I know anything about it. It's not that
buddy. It's okay. It's okay, friend. It's okay. I'd sign your yearbook and I'd say something very nice in it.
Thank you. It's we're fine now. That's what's important, Saige. We're fine now.
Do you want to make it end of the year? It's too early. Yearbook? Oh. Hi, everybody.
Hey. How are you?
How's it going?
Let's chat about some Star Wars.
Let's talk about the biggest news today, the one and only big news today, to be honest.
Honestly,
let's talk about Andor.
Can't wait for Andor, baby.
Well, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer.
No, but I just said I can't.
But you have to.
But why?
We're gonna prove that you can.
Well, why? Why wait?
Because we got a trailer for Andor that also came along with an announcement of a delay for it. Originally, it was slated to be released on August 31st to Disney Plus, and the end of it now says a 3-episode premiere on September 21st.
Which, like, it's interesting. So it's like, oh, well, you're going to wait a little longer, but we're going to give you more at once, which tells me that they're doing some final polishing and tweaking, maybe some light reshooting, but who knows. But also, isn't that like half the series in once? Isn't that like half the series in one night?
Yeah, that should be.
That's wild. That's a wild drop.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Coincidence? I think
Demia
not.
Digiweebe is in Andor.
Confirmed.
Confirmed. The new trailer is very good.
Yeah, let's watch it.
I'll tell you that. Ooh.
Oh, loud. Little sound?
Yeah, we'll get a little sound. I'm just
As a treat?
I'm just adjusting.
Just like as a treat?
We're just adjusting before we do that. Hello? There we go. There we go.
To steal from the Empire? You just walk in like you belong. They're so proud of themselves. So fat and satisfied.
I love the coffee. I love the running gag of the Empire drinking coffee.
That someone like me would ever get inside their house.
Cassian Andor. The Empire is choking us so slowly. We're starting not to notice. What I'm asking is this. Wouldn't you rather give it all to something real?
Hell yeah.
I need all the heroes I can get.
I love the theme.
For the greater good.
Call it what you will.
Let's call it.
Hey, there's our boy. Love soccer.
There's fermenting out there, son. Pockets of fermenting.
You're in my net. Are you a fish? Or are you a thief?
I mean, that's a terrible.
You're slipping.
Yeah.
He's not.
I'm not slipping.
Yeah, you've got two choices
I've
then,
just
I
been
guess.
hiding for too long.
Between the two, I'm me.
As long as everyone thinks
There's our girl. There's Mon Mothma.
chance they'll
miss
what I'm really doing.
What are you really doing?
This is what revolution looks like.
I'm tired of losing.
Yes.
This is very interesting because this does look like epic as hell.
Yeah. And listen, we're big fans of letting people take the time they need to make something as good as it can be.
Absolutely.
I still love the look of it. I still love the vibe and the tone based on the trailers that we've seen and the clips that we've seen so far.
Uh-huh.
I love that theme. I love the little bop bop bops in the theme. It reminds me. It reminds me of a like Akira.
Interesting. Yeah.
With like the little like this like the just the tiny like bop bop bop.
Yeah.
It's great.
It looks very good. I'm not
Yeah.
mad at the month-long delay. It's just a month. I can handle that.
Me
And oh
neither.
my god, the year is soaring by.
And especially with, you know, with lately the way we've all sort of felt like, man, that show could have used a couple more weeks to bake those effects. Like, man, it could have used like just a little bit more tweaking. I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah.
The dropping half the series at once is just wild to me.
I wonder what that's about. I'm very curious.
I mean, you know, it's obviously like Disney Plus as a network.
Is Andor 12 episodes?
Oh, Andor's 12?
Is it? I have no idea.
Andor's
honestly.
12. Okay. Well, that's great then.
Okay, well that would make sense, I guess.
Then that's not as bad. It's still a big drop.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because that's a movie length drop.
That is a movie length drop. Yeah.
I thought that it was 2 seasons of 6 each, but it's 2 seasons of 12 each, which is also great because it means that Andor is potentially free of the 6-episode curse.
Right.
The 6-episode pacing curse. That was the main reason I was worried about 3 dropping at once.
Yeah.
But with 12, like, I feel a lot better about that.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's just a quarter of the season. I mean, obviously that's still a pretty significant drop, but I'm not mad at it. And I also can't help but wonder if maybe because Andor is something that isn't as necessarily low-level accessible for casual Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
It's the prequel to the prequel that's a prequel to the sequels.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so we're getting a little in the weeds here, and they aren't characters necessarily that, like, your very casual Star Wars fan is very familiar with,
Now, at the same time,
like Obi-Wan.
Rogue One did insanely well and is a lot of people's most favorite of the new Star Wars films. So I do think there's a
Absolutely.
lot of recognition for Diego, especially as Cassian Andor.
I agree, but I think those are all Star Wars fans. I don't think there are a lot of people that are like not Star Wars fans that are like super into the lore of Rogue One.
Oh, see what actually like a lot of the response was based on like the general audiences that they found is like, because Rogue One was connected to the original films more than the new films.
Yeah.
More casual Star Wars fans actually connected with Rogue One.
Really?
Which was, it was really interesting because they were like, no, I remember who these characters are. I know what's happening here. I do know the Death Star. I do know Darth Vader. Like, I know this
It's
stuff.
so funny because Rogue One is one of my least favorite modern Star Wars films.
Is it really?
Yeah, I'm not a Rogue One person.
Now, there are deep connections for the Star Wars lore fans. Obviously, Saw Gerrera and a lot of the characters from Clone Wars and Rebels that make like appearances. That's all very cool. But yeah, a lot of people really enjoyed Rogue One.
I see Andor as not an inherently recognizable title to Star Wars casual fans.
Yeah.
And it's not a character. I mean, like you've had Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, right?
Yeah, no, those are
that
huge.
are just those. So I think that a 12-episode arc, but dropping 3 at once might be enough to invest the casual fan that was like, oh, I'll check it out. It's easy to binge. It's easy to sit down and be like, oh shit, I watched 3 episodes of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, it's basically saying that it has a movie-length pilot, which is, you know, it used to be very common practice in television for like something to have like a 2-hour pilot episode.
So this is an opportunity to get those people more invested so that they will come back on now that then week-to-week release schedule. Because I think a lot of people might have just like fallen off otherwise.
I've seen a lot of people in the live studio audience mention Kyle Katarn, and it's like, take a breath and shake it out, is what I have to say. The problem is, you know, you want to talk about like characters that are recognizable to people. People may go, oh, the guy from Rogue One, even if they don't recognize Andor. There aren't a lot of people. You want to talk about deep lore? Kyle Katarn is deep lore.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I'd love to see Kyle Katarn show up and stuff, Katarn doesn't get a series. People know who Diego Luna is. People know who Cassian Andor is. I'd love to see Kyle Katarn show up. I'd love to see a bunch more. Listen, I want Jackson the Space Rabbit to fucking show up. I got a list of characters a mile long that I want to show up. But I think Andor, also to your point of like, the first 2 series were about like basically original trilogy characters that everybody can latch on to.
Yeah, I mean, there's The Mandalorian, which is separate because it was not. But
right, but the two you're talking about Obi-Wan and you're talking about Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And those are characters that, like you're saying, all 3 generations of Star Wars fans should recognize.
Yes.
Andor is interesting because this is their first, is a new character strong enough to carry one of these series. Is one of the characters from these sort of sequel era movies.
Yeah.
Ready to carry one of these series. And you'd think so because of The Mandalorian, but The Mandalorian also had, number 1, it was the first live action Star Wars TV show. Number 2, it was coming off of like they rode a wave of like some very interesting fan sentiment at the time, which is we love Star Wars. A lot of fans were like, we love Star Wars, but we don't necessarily like what you're doing with these films. What else can you show us while we're still hyped for Star Wars?
Yeah.
And then of course you had Jon Favreau coming on. So The Mandalorian had like a lot going for it.
Right. It was and it was the first.
Yeah.
People were like, Star Wars TV.
Star Wars TV.
You could have made that anything.
So it'll be interesting to see how people react to Andor, and I think Disney feels the same way. And so when you're taking a little bit of extra time to tweak this, I also know Sana, who's the showrunner, really, you know, originally I think when we heard that Cassian was getting a series, we heard the first announcement was Cassian and K2 are getting a series.
Yeah.
Which, just from that phrase, has a very different tone to what we're seeing. Like, you can tell this show has gone through multiple revisions.
Right.
And Sana definitely wanted, you know, she's coming off of Chernobyl. She's coming off of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
She really wanted to do like a darker, grittier, what is it like to be a normal human being in the trenches during these Star Wars.
Yeah.
What's it like to be a normal person when a ship flies by and guns down a massive like village? No, you're not in the ship now. You're in the village. What's that like?
Right. Yeah.
And so I think getting that tone right, which would be considerably different than most Star Wars media, I can see why it's taking. And I'm saying this with no internal knowledge. I can see why it's taking a little bit of extra time.
Yeah. You know, and like that's fine. And 12 episodes will be enough to get people to understand that concept. If I said to my mother, Cassian Andor, she'd be like, who?
Be like, Rogue One guy.
She'd say, who?
My mom would be like, oh, Rogue One guy.
No, she would have no idea. She'd be like, oh, I know Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
She would be like, obviously, she knows Boba Fett. She knows, because she raised us, right?
Right.
She knows Obi-Wan, right?
Yes.
For my niece and nephew, she's like, Kylo Ren. I know Rey, right? She knows those. She doesn't know shit about Rogue One.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Somebody's saying, is K2 not coming back? I don't know that. I'm just saying we haven't seen K2.
Yeah.
And originally when they said, because I remember announcing it on the Star Wars show, and we said Cassian and K2.
Yes. And the grit level of this show from the trailer does not sell me on the idea that K2 is going to be there.
He might be there. We might get him as a little treat.
Maybe at the end of the series, honestly.
Yeah.
Or like the end of season 1.
Yeah. Because I think getting Cassian, we're going to see the story of Cassian maybe joining the rebellion a little bit. We're going to get that because we have seen that sort of in the first trailer, we saw a lot of that destruction of a city.
Yeah.
And clearly like young Cassian was there.
Right.
So I wonder how much of that we're going to see and how much it's going to be before like Cassian and the rebellion trust each other and Cassian is ready to, commit himself to the rebellion.
Also, everyone in the chat is saying we want Mara Jade.
Sure.
Yes. Thank you. I agree. Not in this series, but they're just talking about characters they want to see.
Yeah, of course.
This would not be the good place
Kyle
for her.
Katarn and Mara Jade, I put it about the same level of recognition. I would love to see them both. Mara Jade is tricky because Mara Jade immediately, well, it doesn't, but Mara Jade immediately gives expectations about connection with Luke Skywalker. And that's...
Bring her back.
Yeah, I
Bring
mean...
her back.
Look,
tell her story and not her marriage story.
Look, here's the thing. We don't need her to ever meet or become involved with Luke Skywalker. That's not a thing. But
if you need them to have met, there's plenty of time.
But here's what I'll also say. We do know that young Luke is starting his Jedi school. We've seen it. And I don't know, he can meet some people on that Jedi school. Story about that Jedi school and Luke and what's going on and who they meet and what he's doing.
I don't want a Luke-based story.
I don't want a Luke-based story either. But the Jedi school itself, with a little bit of Luke, I could really get into.
Yeah.
Is Thrawn canon? Yes.
Yes.
Thrawn was made canon in I mean he's been canon, but he was made canon in Rebels and in the Thrawn trilogy, which damn, those are good books. Yeah,
those books are canon. We don't have a lot of time left.
On Earth.
True. I think I just want to end it talking about Tessa Thompson.
Sure, who doesn't?
I think I want to go out thinking about Tessa Thompson.
So there's this Westworld season 4 is happening, and
I haven't watched since season 1.
I
watched like the first episode of season 2.
I watched a lot of season, some of season 2, some of season 3. Westworld hasn't really been my jam. They went a little off the rails. But here's Westworld season 4, and here's a shot from it. And just based on this shot, maybe I miss Westworld?
Yeah, so the headline says, is season 4 of Westworld worth watching? Depends on what you came to the show expecting. And now all of a sudden I'm like...
Well, I didn't expect this, but it's a welcome surprise.
Maybe I get back in on Westworld. I'm loving their very Star Wars hair, though.
Yeah.
Like the two women on the sides. It's giving Star Wars.
The future always means that femme hair gets more and more complicated.
Yeah, multiple buns.
Or incredibly cut off simple.
Yeah.
Nothing in between.
Cool.
Just do you think the Westworld actors, when they were like, it's time, when they got the call, it's like, okay, so we're gonna start shooting season 4 soon. Do you think every single Westworld actor was like, oh shit, right, I'm on Westworld. Oh fuck, I totally forgot that I'm on Westworld.
Do you think Tessa Thompson is nice?
She is very nice.
Do you think that like she'd want to hold hands?
That I couldn't speak to, but maybe.
Okay.
But I think they probably called these people, especially Tessa Thompson, who's very busy.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, Tessa, it's time for Westworld season 4. And she's like, oh, fuck, right, I'm on Westworld. Oh, I told him I'd go do I'm supposed to do like a whole season of Westworld.
Westworld.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of weird now that I'm a superhero, but yeah, I guess I'll go to Westworld.
Yeah, I guess I'm going away for like 4 months to do Westworld? I guess we're still doing that?
Okay.
That's so, Westworld. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So hilarious.
Westworld doesn't hit for me. And honestly, like, season 1 was very good, but it still was not for me.
I don't often say this about shows.
Uh-huh.
Westworld needed to move slower. Not the first season. I thought the first season was very well done, but Westworld needed to move slower. They immediately were like, there's always the if this then that of a show. Like, here's what we just showed you, and if that was true, what else is going on in this world? And I feel like season 2 was just like, and when we say the world, we mean the world.
Yeah, I watched like the first few episodes when they were outside of Westworld itself.
And
I also, like, look, at a certain point, as a woman consuming media, I do get exhausted with how much futuristic and fantasy media is still based in our suffering. Mm-hmm. That is a pivotal plot point, and the thing that they use to buy sympathy is like harm to women.
Yeah, and it's
just exhausting at a certain point, and I can only consume so much of that media. And
they were threading a needle with the first season with the Dolores story, because it's like you want her to get out of this routine that she is trapped in, right? And that's a good metaphor for that story. But it do just keep getting bigger and bigger, and it is mostly, I understand wanting to tell a story of like, hey, women in society are clearly being mistreated. This is a story of them getting out of that, but it's like, okay, but they really need to get out of that because you are doing a lot of that and not much else, and you have a whole world in society and a whole bunch of philosophical themes that you could be touching on. Yeah. And you're touching on them all through the suffering of these women.
I guess as I get older and the world gets more noticeably worse, it gets harder because it's just like it feels like women don't get escapism. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because like we are still consistently victims in escapism.
Right.
And it's like it feels like a lot of people sit around in a boardroom, and most frequently men sit around and they're like, man, what's going on is fucked up. Yeah, we agree that it's fucked up, right? And they tell it to us. Mm-hmm. You're telling me that women are suffering. And I'm like, oh, no. We know. We're super aware.
Yeah.
And like your show isn't actually helping us.
No.
This isn't the like
a reminder of it. Like there's no need for the metaphor. We understand the metaphor.
Like we know. We're living it. So it makes a lot of fantasy and sci-fi difficult to find escapism for women, and I find that really a bummer because our stories are consistently told from a point of suffering.
Well, and like a lot of Abrams stuff, it decided immediately that it wanted to ask too many questions. Mm-hmm. Abrams stuff is always, and it's very questions motivated.
Yeah.
And so it's like if there aren't new questions, what is the show about? And it's like tranquilo on the questions, my guy.
Yeah.
Like I pick one question and really delve into it and examine that theme, and pick one setting and really delve into it and examine that theme. Like you could have spent all of season 2 as like a very cool escape from Westworld, but now we've found out that we have to go through the other theme parks as well.
Yeah.
And that would have been such a good, simple season 2, and you still could have done stuff with Dolores and with Audrey, right? What was I forget the name. It doesn't matter.
I don't remember.
But like, you still could have done stuff. Jonathan Nolan and not J.J. Abrams is on it. Abrams is an executive producer on Westworld. It was Abrams and Jonathan Nolan. So like, you could have really taken those characters and had them examine their new powers, their new consciousness, all of that stuff as they were going through other theme parks, and you still could like start telling the story of Dallas, this company, and like what's going on. You don't need to jump to like fucking Aaron Paul working on a construction site with robots and who's really the labor and like what's going. And I'm just like, you're going too many places. You're doing too many things.
Yeah.
Pull it back. Pull it back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been weird to like try to get back into Westworld. I know a couple people who are very, very into it, and they've been like really, really about season 4. They're like, season 4 I think is way better. I think they're getting back on track, but they're saying it in that Lost way.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, you mean it's better than the last 2 seasons, and that doesn't mean that it's good.
You know, just really quickly before we end the show, you know who's not gone too far? You know who tells good goddamn fantasy? Avatar The Last Airbender, Anthony. It's Avatar The Last Airbender.
We are fans of Avatar The Last Airbender here. I have heard of Avatar The Last Airbender. I do enjoy it.
And we just got a little casting announcement that just for Saiges is very exciting.
I mean, it's pretty exciting for everybody.
It's pretty exciting. Now, when we were offline, we did get the update that the original 3 slot of movies that was announced or that was leaked was incorrect. So the first movie that we are getting is following Aang and that cast from the original series. So, for your context, it's no longer Korra, Zuko, and Kyoshi. Originally, we thought we would get Kyoshi first. I'm disappointed that we're not.
Yeah.
I'm happy to revisit Aang, but I'm just like, well, we told that story. Besides the point. In that story, we do have a casting announcement. This one is for the Netflix Avatar series, though. Just giving all of the context of what we've been seeing. They're bringing June in.
Arden Cho is going to be June. Arden Cho, most known for Teen Wolf. But she's been on a lot of stuff. She's popped up in things. She's done a lot of TV credits.
This is such a cool fucking role, and I'm so excited to see what she does with it, because June is an incredible character. June is a character that is not massive throughout the series, but one of the most memorable characters in the series, and very specific in attitude, and I'm just so happy to see her brought to life, and I think this casting is incredible. Like, that's June. You nailed that. I think that looks spectacular. I'm just very excited about it. It's just like a little piece of news for Netflix.
It's going to be very good. I'm liking all the choices they're making. As always, very optimistic until given a reason.
I mean, like, June had like 3 lines. Still managed to be one of the hottest characters in the whole series.
Yeah.
We're gonna take out the weird Iroh jokes at her.
Sounds like it might. Sounds like they might be expanding her role if they're announcing her casting.
Even if they don't, here's the thing: they might not. But there is, if nothing else, if they're retelling the same story of the first series of Avatar, that's a significant character for specifically one episode, and it matters.
And that's the thing, is like there's no reason to not put the best people you can into every single role, no matter how large or small. That's how you make a good thing.
Yeah.
So very, very exciting.
And that is all we have time for today. Thank you, of course, for joining us. Y'all, on Friday, I told you that I was going to try and convince Anthony to do a full-length cover of Genuine's pony meowing. And he said, we're not doing that. He said, we're not doing a full cover. We're not doing that.
That's too much.
And we did. And it's up on the Patreon. If you have not seen it yet, it is up on the Patreon. Don't miss it. Go enjoy it and tell Anthony how excellent it is, because it is, and it's very good. It is so long. It's very, very long. I can't believe how long Genuine's Pony is. It's a 5.5 minute long song. It's very long. If I had to say how long it is, I would say a little longer than you'd think, and maybe even if you're not dancing in a club or something, a little longer than you'd like. I feel like most of the time if it plays in a club, they mix out of it early. They probably do. They probably mix out of it early. It gets very repetitive. Yeah, which is saying a lot for a pop song. Hey, folks, in addition to that, we should let you know, Wednesday, of course, is our 2-year anniversary. It's too early. Very, very excited for that. Oh, did we say that you can see that on the Patreon? Yes, you can see that on the Patreon. Yes, we did. And then, of course, Friday, we're going to be taking the day off. Saige is heading to Gen Con.
She's got a lot of exciting board game related things to do. Board game and tabletop related things.
Yes.
But you know, Saige,
Yes.
before all of this stuff, before we get into all that, what the hell else are you up to?
It's a great question. You can find me everywhere on the internet every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on my Twitch channel at @NotSage. I said that all a little out of order, if I'm honest, and you get the idea. I say it every episode. You can find me here on this channel for a bunch of different things as well, like a bunch of tabletop on the weekends. Failed Save and Damsels are also off this weekend for us to attend Gen Con. But we'll be back very soon. You haven't gone and caught up. Also, I'm sorry there's a little bit of delay in the YouTube uploads this week. We're doing our best.
There you go. You can find me everywhere on the internet at A Carboni, except for here on Twitch, where I'm at Anthony Carboni. Twitch, you cowards, it's mine. Give it back to me. Episode 701 of We Have Concerns is up. It's about a man who tried to give his microwave artificial intelligence and the horrible things that happened to him when he did so. Very good episode. You can find that now wherever fine podcasts are sold. Really appreciate everybody who hangs out on the Discord, who tweets when the show goes live, who just shares when they enjoy a thing that we like. That means a lot.
Actually, we had quite a few people today that I wanted to thank for retweeting the show when we went live. So a huge thank you to Hannah Law and to Red Hair Crazy.
Thank you so much, y'all.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Very
and
cool.
Remember, when you are subscribing, all of that, or giving bits, all that money goes to the network to keep the shed on the stilts, which keep it on the cliff, which is precariously perched over the ocean. But when you give cash money, that goes to pay the hosts that you see on screen. So we appreciate that as well, because that helps us pay our personal bills. Hey.
Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for starting your morning with us, and we will see you on Wednesday. Bye, BBs.
Bye, BBs.